Hello and welcome back to my channel. So typically before I ever sit down to film a video, I will create a very detailed outline for myself because I put a lot of study into the preparation of my videos, and I absolutely love that. It's probably one of my favorite parts of this whole process. But every once in a while we'll have a video that's a little bit different where I just sit down, turn on the camera, and open up about something that God is showing me or doing in me. And in this video, that's what we're gonna do. I wanna open up to you guys about a little heart check that God gave me. And if you have ever felt like you are just too busy to spend time with God, then maybe, just maybe, this is a little heart check for you as well. And specifically, I want to share two things that God sort of just hit me with and present them as questions for you to kind of gauge your own heart as well. And maybe you're like me, you would never say, I'm too busy to spend time with God, or even consciously think that, but it can still kind of be hiding in there, and it definitely was for me. So I'm kind of just gonna share with you guys what happened before we get into it. If you haven't already, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful or encouraging, and then also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I love creating content to help you know God more through His Word and to encourage you in your walk with Him, and I would love to have you here. So let's just get into it. So if you watched my most recent Q&A, I opened up about just the struggles I've been having in my walk with God, and kind of going through a whole new season of being a mom now and figuring out what it looks like to spend time with God when my life looks completely different than it did before, and I'm not always able to have these hour-long quiet times with Bible open and pens and all that kind of stuff. And so anyways, that's just kind of been something I've been navigating, and my husband obviously knows that, and he knows that I've just been kind of struggling to find my rhythm with that. And so something that he suggested that we do recently is just to start going through a devotional together every morning and night, which sounds like a lot, but it's just a quick one, and I'm going to explain more about it in a moment. But a part of the devotional we've been going through, it's by Pete Scazzero. I'll have it linked down below. The intention is to just have little pockets of time in the morning and in the evening to focus our attention on God together as a married couple. And part of the little devotional is 2 minutes of silence and solitude. And I am an achiever. I'm a to-do list person. I love being efficient and productive and getting things done. And so even though silence is very much a spiritual practice that helps us to still our hearts before God and to connect with God and to listen for His voice, even though I know those things, silence is something that I can really struggle with because it feels like I'm just sitting there and not doing anything, and it can feel really unproductive. And so the very first night that we did this devotional, we did the beginning part, which is the 2 minutes of silence and solitude, and that's exactly what I was feeling. Again, it was evening time. We had already gotten Judah down for the evening, but I still had quite a bit of work that I needed to finish that night that I hadn't been able to get to throughout the day as I was caring for him. And so Tyler and I are sitting down to do this devotional, and we're just silent for 2 minutes. And Tyler had kind of told me, typically for me, I'll just focus on like the name of Jesus or different names of Jesus, or just say like, God, I just want to be with you. And he'll have a thought like that he'll just repeat to himself because it's easy to get distracted and have your mind wander in that time. And so I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to just say the name of Jesus to myself, but I'm sitting there so antsy because I'm thinking about all the work that I have to do, and I feel like I'm just sitting there doing nothing, and it felt really unproductive to me, and I felt like, man, I just don't have time for this. And there it was. I'm like, wow, am I really too busy to spend this time with God? And it was in that moment, and honestly in that time of that silence and solitude, that I feel like God really just gave me a heart check. And so again, I want to share with you the two things that I feel like I realized in that moment and present them as questions for you to ask yourself. And the first one is this: what is the end of your busyness? Because as I was sitting there thinking about the work that I still had to do, I kind of followed it through. I'm like, why am I so anxious to get this work done? What is the end of my busyness? And I feel like there's kind of two parts here, because obviously on the one hand, I love the work that I do. I feel a lot of purpose in it, and I feel like there's meaning and purpose to it. And that's the deeper piece. But the other piece of it is I feel like this frantic piece of feeling like I have to get these things done and I can't fall behind and I need to be consistent. And when I follow the end through of those things, I feel like they're driven by a couple goals. One is I'm constantly trying to find the balance between being a mom and a wife and wanting to take care of our home, and also the work that I do. And it's wanting to get to a place where I can hire help for a couple more parts of the process of what I do so that I can give more time to my family and feel less frantic in trying to navigate that balance. And then also consistency and wanting to be successful in it to help contribute to the financial needs of our family. But in following those things through, what am I really after? I'm after peace, again, in trying to navigate more balance in the schedule of all of that kind of stuff. And I'm after peace in the sense of feeling like having enough finances for different things will give us the things that we want, like working towards buying a home, or even just being able to create more time freedom or flexibility in our schedule. And it's wanting those things that I feel like are going to bring peace, joy, contentment, all the different things. And as I was realizing this, that I feel so frantic and so like I need to get these things done, because ultimately I'm after these things. I'm after peace, I'm after joy, I'm after this kind of future elusive vision of this content, perfect, happy life. When I realized that, God brought to mind John 15. I'm going to pull it up and read it to you guys. It's one of my all-time favorite passages where Jesus talks about how he is the vine, the true vine. And here's what he says in John chapter 15. He says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you." And here's the big one. Verse 4, "Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing." So right here, Jesus is telling him, I am the vine, and when you are not connected to me, apart from me, you can do nothing. Yet when you are abiding in me, when you are remaining in me, when you are simply being with me, then it is that you will bear much fruit. And if we look at those things that I'm truly after in my busyness and my frantic hustling and feeling like I need to get these things done, what I'm truly after is fruit. And that's honestly been such a huge prayer for myself, for my life this year, is that God, I want to have fruit. I want to bear your fruit. I want it to be rich in my life. What is fruit? If we look at Galatians 5, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I think that those are the things that, if we're all honest with ourselves, that we really truly long for. We long for peace, we long for joy, and we seek after these things in this life that we feel like are going to bring us these things. Maybe having a certain level of financial stability, or having certain things that we want in this life that are going to make our lives easier, that are going to give us that peace or that joy. But the irony in all these things is that as we're searching after these things that we think are going to lead to peace, to joy, to these fruits of the Spirit, Jesus tells us that we cannot have those things apart from him. And in him, we can have those things right here and right now. We don't need to have a certain lifestyle or a certain income level or have a certain level of achievement or success in our work. We can experience fruit right here and right now, no matter what our circumstances are, simply by abiding in him. And so this kind of hit me as we're sitting in this moment where I'm just struggling to practice silence and to practice solitude, because I'm realizing like, man, ultimately this antsiness that is driving me to be busy and to feel like I can't be still in this moment, it is me seeking after something that Jesus is trying to give me right here in this moment by spending time with God and stilling my heart in his presence and remaining in him. And so ask yourself, what is the end of your busyness? Because if you're anything like me, quite possibly the thing that you're truly seeking after in your busyness cannot actually be found apart from stilling your heart and slowing yourself down to spend time with God and to abide in him right here and right now. If you're too busy to spend time with God, the second question I want to present you with is it possible that you're actually just prioritizing something else instead? Like I was sharing in my most recent Q&A as well, we're just now getting to the point where sleep is becoming a little bit more consistent with Judah, and there's a little bit more predictability that we're regaining into our routines. And I feel like the first 5-ish months of Judah's life, we really barely watched any TV because, we didn't know when we put him down if he was going to be up soon wanting to eat or how much time we would have. And so I feel like just didn't really have time to watch TV. But now that we have a little bit more predictability, when we put him down, we know that he's most likely going to be sleeping through most of the night. I feel like we've gotten into the habit of watching even just one show every night. Yet then we talk about how we struggle to wake up at 6 a.m. when our goal is to set our alarms for 6 a.m., knowing that Judah is usually waking up between 6:15 to 6:45. And so if we set our alarms for 6 a.m., we know that we're gonna have at least 15, maybe 30 to 40 minutes of time before he wakes up to devote to time with the Lord. Yet we've both been struggling to actually wake up at 6 when our alarms go off. And we're like, yeah, you know, we're still just kind of catching up on this sleep deficit. But then we had to look at our schedules and realize that every single night we're spending 40 minutes watching Netflix. And, you know, we can tell ourselves that that is us decompressing, which I feel like there's a truth to that. And that's not bad in and of itself. But we are allowing there to be time for this, then struggling in the morning to devote that time to the Lord, which we know is going to be the thing that is bringing us that true soul rest and peace that we are looking to in sort of a false sense with the Netflix shows that we're watching. And so when we realize this and we realize, you know, we don't actually not have time to spend time with God like we're telling ourselves that we do, we're just choosing to prioritize something else above it. When we had that realization, it hit us and we ended up making the decision to cancel our Netflix subscription for now. And that's not to say that we'll never do it again, that we'll never, you know, have a rhythm where we watch a show here and there, maybe a couple nights a week. But we just realized until we can get this priority straight of actually spending time with God and prioritizing this, then we don't need to be spending 45 minutes every night watching a show. We can actually just go to bed earlier so that we can wake up at 6 a.m. when that alarm goes off, so that we can make sure we have that time to devote to the Lord. And so I just wanted to share these things because even as somebody who makes Christian content and talks all the time about just the importance of spending time with God, of daily devoting ourselves to Him, and how truly life-changing that is, I still struggle to sometimes believe that. And I still struggle to sometimes, you know, I come up with these excuses where I tell myself or believe that I'm too busy and then it's hard to create the time for it, when in reality, oftentimes there's other things going on. And so I know this video is a little bit different than my normal style, but I hope that it is both an encouragement and a challenge to you if you've also been telling yourself that you're just too busy and struggling to devote that time to God. I pray that these questions can just be things that you reflect on and allow God to speak through. And we're figuring it out too. We are continually needing and allowing God to convict us in the areas that we need it, so that we can bring our lives into alignment with how He has called us to live, which is for His glory and also ultimately for our good. And so I hope this video was encouraging to you, just a little heart chat, you know, and I would love if you're willing to share the answers to those two questions that I presented. What is the end of your busyness? I kind of shared what it is for me. And then also, is there something that you are prioritizing over time with God that God may be asking you to let go of? I would love to hear your answers to those two reflection questions down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.